Advance Notice with your host, Parks and ynoT.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Advance Notice. I'm your host, Parks. Joining me today is ynoT, of course, as always, and a special guest. He does our intro. It's AngelofBattle, also known AOB. How you doing, my man?
Doing all right, fellas. How are you?
I'm really good. Tony, are you alive?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm alive. I'm kicking. We actually have a contractual obligation to have Angel on the show for one episode, so
Yeah,
that's why. If
it
you're
was a
wondering
part
why
of the
that is,
agreement.
then this is it. Yeah,
That's
exactly
why he
what
did the
this is
intro
about
for
now.
us. It was the episode.
You
We
guys are
love
getting
it.
paid? Wait a minute.
Yeah. No, we love having you here. We're gonna get right into it. Actually, today
Yeah.
it's gonna be those advanced standings. As always, it's been a few weeks, so got a few updates. Touchpoint Gaming and UIU both top of the table, 8-1. How are we looking?
Yeah, TPG and UIU, both teams we talked about last episode as well, and continuously they seem to be finding their wins. 8-1, both of these teams after a 6-0 touch on last time from TPG, and then 5-1 from UIU. Both of those teams still keeping the good gap there at the top. And then Omega, we've got Omega. We have somebody who is a little bit of a representative, I guess, so to speak. So you know what? Why don't you let us know what's going on in that camp? How have their games been going?
I mean, it's doing good. They've had a little bit of kind of a standstill, a little bit, not, I wouldn't say earlier in the season, but kind of like mid-season here. Just some of the guys, I don't know, they're not clicking all the time, consistency issues here or there, but ultimately they are playing well. So a lot of times they'll get a good lead, and they'll allow that opponent to kind of come back out of nowhere, but then they kind of they put the bow on top right at the end and close it out. So I think with the experience from Frag this weekend, they're going to come back even stronger. So look forward to them to have a big half or a big second half of the season.
Yeah,
and being 7-2, like they're already doing great. They're sat fourth place, I want to say. So even if they're not clicking exactly in the games, you win the game in the end of the day, and it's great to see from them. We got 4 or 5 teams here that we got to keep an eye on. They're all 6-3. Cosmic,
new names,
Rectify, Tempest, Mad Kings, and Vireo. Those are the playoff bubble teams. So I'd be keeping an eye on those because they're all in that little chunk of teams that the 16th seed and up need to make it. I think the highest there is Cosmic Wolf 15th. So there's 2 playoff spots in that kind of chunk of 5.
Yeah, and now with Tempest being 4-2, last time we had seen them now 6-3 after they made their roster change, dropping, I believe, their only non-Turkish player in Gertz, unless there were 2. I think Coco might not be, but either way, they picked up another Turkish player to try and round out the chemistry, I guess, across the team, and it looks like it's been working really well for them. I feel like this might have been the one move that might send them to the top of the leaderboard soon enough, especially if we have a playoff berth soon. I'm excited to see them in best of 3s now once they get things rolling.
Yeah, and Mad Kings are a Peruvian side, which is interesting to see.
Yeah, very
Rectify,
cool.
We've had them around before. Vireo, the org that just keeps coming back. They're in 6-3 right now, which is interesting to see. Of course, those are really the hard chunky section to look at. The other side of the table, the chunky section. Yeah, that's the sweaty at the end of the day kind of group. The other side of the coin, of course, is those 3 and 6 teams. We got 2 of them, I guess, I want to highlight here. Villainous, what a fall, I guess, in terms of where the caliber of some of these players used to be. Most of this roster used to be on the Premier side that made it into, I want to say, season 38, season 39 of Premier, and now they're sitting trying to get 500 at the end of the season because it's only a 12 match season.
Yeah,
and if they wanted
14,
to get
500,
14? Okay, 14. Yeah.
Unless it's different for advanced and different, but I'm pretty sure every other one is at 14 right now.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I know where at least it has to be 14 because there's like 4 more games scheduled out already for Omega.
Okay.
So yeah, it has to be
There
at
you
least
go.
14.
Yeah, so yeah, even still, the point still stands, right?
Trying to keep
their roster's
500.
not bad. Their roster isn't bad. Their roster is full of at least 2 or 3 certain players who I would say are probably top of advanced level players, right? And I guess it's unfortunate to see them in this specific mix not really working out. So I think that maybe it might be one of those cases where I think they just need something fresh next season. Maybe a new pair of players, perhaps. Other than that, I'm not really sure. I don't know who to point at in this team, and not having actually watched them.
Is it third impactitis?
Oh,
Yeah. Maybe a little bit sooner than Third Impact had their Third Impact-itis kick in, but definitely
Yeah.
possible.
That's for anybody who doesn't understand what I'm referencing. Third Impact were on paper a great team in
For a long
Premier
time.
for a long time. The same five
Long
stuck through
time.
it, and towards the end, the same five kept going through it all, and they just didn't win games ever.
Yeah.
And some of those games were not close. And these are teams that 2 seasons ago they'd been owning, absolutely top of the table, kind of, and it just towards the
Yeah.
end it just kind of died. Uh, so you look at the team like Villainous, and I guess they are having a little bit of third impactitis in terms of they've fallen. The core at least have fallen from Premier,
Yeah.
and you don't want to free fall into main, but as it stands right now, they are in the bottom half of the table, and it's not looking great. The other team joining them in that bottom half is Counter Nature, also 3-6, of course. And I've watched a few of their games, and I'll be honest, it hasn't looked the best. But they played Brazen the other night, and that was a really close match. So interesting to see.
Yeah, that's good. I like to see that. We like to see all these new faces. We try to have a couple of new names each episode too for the standings. We don't like to talk about the same teams too much, but seeing as TPG and UIU still hold that top lead spot, I don't see them leaving anytime soon. We'll probably be visiting them next episode as well. Is there anything you have to add, AOB, before we move on to the meat and potatoes?
Say, if I had one as like my choice to kind of watch out for the rest of the season, it's got to be Stealth. I believe they just picked up Nova. I don't know if it was maybe just for Frag, but it looks like he's actually on their roster. If that is true, I would really look forward to them to make a strong push in the second half and make playoffs. Zert's having a phenomenal season. Mexican's having a great season as well. And Blessa as well. I mean, you got some really good, strong players on that team. You add a great player like Nova in there as well. I think they're going to do very well. That's my pick as far as like for the rest of the season.
Yeah, just looking at their quick maps here, they played Nuke and Inferno exclusively so far, and they lost their last 3 Nuke matches, which is unfortunate. But I do agree with you that roster, like Mexican is a name. He spoke. I played against him for a charity tournament. He was cracked. Nova, we know, is a good advanced opper. He hasn't really had a huge chance to prove it, but I rate him as a top main, at least some sort of advanced opper. And yeah, I definitely see that they're 5-4 right now. Like there was definitely a chance when they're seeing 24th in the standings. They definitely have a chance to at least pull for one of those last positions that'll be available depending on the rest of the season. But yeah, it's looking really good for them.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that just a little side take that the issue, quote unquote, with Nova is that I think he spent so long in main that he kind of got used to that level of play after. I think he started main in like season 30, maybe. And that's crazy to me that he's been around for so long at only the age of 20, right? And
Yeah.
he definitely has a little bit more juice in the tank, but I think he's gonna have to start showing it in the next couple of seasons at this level, because other than like maybe a couple of off games, off of events, off like one-off performances, it's hard to see him consistently performing at a top level of advanced unless he starts to show us that he can start to kind of bang out the bottom. You like you make it from top main, you start to bang out the bottom of advanced. So I mean, soon enough, I hope to see that be the case, because this is a pretty solid team. I think specifically for him, I think this is where he'll probably have his best chance to shine for at least a little while now.
And you got to remember, he's been through so much. In the last 2 seasons alone, I think he's been through like 4 different teams, and like, and
life.
and not the fun, and not to mention just unfortunate events. But I believe I saw a statistic that at Frag he was actually had the most frags with the op.
Nice. Well, if that's true, good for him.
Yeah. So I think it's just a matter of finding that feng shui, if you will, or finding that formula that works for him. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And now we can kind of bang out what we've been waiting for this whole time. The whole reason we got our boy here ready to go. It's the guest interview, and this time, you guessed it, we've got AngelofBattle here with us. So we're going to be getting right into that. Parks, what do you got for us, man?
Well, I guess we need to start with some context of who AOB is. AOB is another LCA caster. He does some voice acting. Around the scene, he does a lot of Valorant. He does a lot of CS. I guess there's a little bit more, but those are really kind of questions for him. So, AOB, what got you into casting, my man?
I always used to joke about it on stream with my community, and then like some of the people that I've met, some of my friends that I stream with as well. And it was always kind of like a joke to do it. And then everyone would be like, "Oh, you actually sound pretty good. You should do that." And I mean, I've always enjoyed watching, esports, and
Yeah.
I've always seen myself being able to do that role. And then it was just one day I was like, why not? Why shouldn't I do it? I should go for this. It would definitely be a lot of fun. It would be a way for me to kind of get my name out there, enjoy get myself out in front of the community more as well. And then grow myself into that community as well organically. It seems like a perfect fit.
Yeah, I feel like that's a like a kind of, I don't want to say common, but like a lot of voice actors and casters, actually voice actors too, for that matter, are told kind of like offhandedly, like, "Hey, you should do that," or "Hey, you should try it," and they're like, "All right, sure." And then from there, it all just goes downhill. Like my name, ynoT, is quite literally like the story of why I started casting too. Like the same thing that you just said. People said, "Hey, you should try that." I said, "Oh, fuck it, why not? I guess I'll jump in." Are we PG? Are we allowed to curse on this? Or do I have to bleep that out?
You can talk. You can
All right,
keep
thank
going.
God.
Keep going.
Yeah, that's all
I don't
really
think I would
had.
make it through an episode if you couldn't swear.
Yeah, that's probably true too. But the season 40, we've been casting as a community at LCA so far, as we usually do. So how have you fared throughout the season so far, Angel? How have you felt, regardless of LCA broadcasts or not?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I pretty much cast for just Omega, but I have been able to cast a couple games, mostly actually on the main side and intermediate. I think I've actually got to cast one time for Counter Nature, and then just ultimately seeing the other teams by casting with Omega
Right.
as well. It's so insane how good the talent is. All these players that are so close to getting to that Challenger League level, and they want to just step it up that extra notch. And you'd be surprised, that it's just a game to some people, but these players take it seriously, and it's really really cool to see that passion, that excitement out of the players as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've gotten to the point in esports, I guess, where like anyone who is like a denier or a doubter or a hater on esports or anything like that, and you just show them a video of like I am Cologne,
Yeah.
Oh, I
and
am
then they're like,
Katowice.
or yeah, even like more recently talk about like this just happened like the last couple of weeks. Yeah, like show somebody a video of that. Like I'm glad that we're starting to get to the point where like it's not weird or shameful to talk to somebody and be like, yeah, I play a video game. Like I do that for 8 hours a day, every day for 5 days a week. And that's like, it's incredible to me because like being a player and a coach and a caster, it means a lot to like sit down for extended periods of time and actually like put effort into playing a video game good, as opposed to like, anything else. So I think that that's a really exciting time for Counter-Strike right now, especially. But who's your favorite team talking about Katowice? We had a lot of new teams show up, a lot of new mixes. We've got a whole lot of new teams to pick from. So who are you picking?
Just in advance, and I mean, I
No.
Anywhere, anywhere.
We're talking all CS,
oh
yeah.
my
All
goodness.
And then you know what? All CS, and then North America historically. What's your historical North American favorite team? That way, we're still a little bit on track here.
That's what gets Tony going, is hearing historical NA teams.
Oh, historical. No, cut the NA part out. Just historical teams, and you've got me.
I mean, I mean, obviously, you have to look at teams like Navi, and seeing Simple win a major this year was so awesome to see as well. And just
Right.
that entire group is really cool to watch.
Not B fan then?
I mean, I don't know if I would call myself a Navi fan, but more like players. I like watching certain players. And
Yeah.
I'm like that way with
Insert
athletic
Russia and
sports.
Ukraine joke here. I'm not going to do it, but you can. Anyone else can do it if they'd like.
And like G2, I love watching those guys play as well. Astralis is a really good Complexity, especially since Tim the Tatman became a major owner over there as well. So I feel like that's going to be a huge spark into that group as well. So it's a very exciting time for Counter-Strike. As far as NA, well, I'll just say as far as like ESEA or like
Advanced or
just North American
Challenger.
teams ever.
Anywhere, man.
I mean, obviously Omega is going to be one, just because I cast for those guys, and I've had a chance.
Because you're gonna get paid.
Because I've
I'm
met
kidding,
that.
I'm kidding.
I've met that community, and we mesh so well. They're so supportive. It's awesome to get in front of that community.
You want this team to win.
I do. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, preferably.
I tell you what,
team we've seen in like
no
the top
shit
30 before,
But I mean, if we're gonna go with like Challenger League, I really like the Strife guys. If we're gonna talk about like the top level of ESCL, I like the Strife guys a lot. I think All In cast for those guys as well. But I don't know. That's just me. I like to see a team that may not be, completely rolling. And not really an underdog, but I like to see a team that isn't considered the top pick, kind of
You'd
show
rather
off
watch
and yeah.
like FaZe win an event in
Exactly.
2017 than Astralis, I guess.
Yeah.
Like who was rolling everyone that they played against. You'd rather
Exactly.
watch like some other team who can contend. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, it's if you compare it to like athletic sports like the NFL, you get tired of watching the Patriots win. So
Yeah,
whoever's
that's a
playing
good one.
against them, that's who I'm pulling for.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one too. So we were talking about it, the fact that it just kind of like fell into the laps of some people. Sometimes it just happens to be like that. But what's a good way for people to get into casting and actually start casting? And on top of that, I'm kind of going to mix two of my questions together. What do you think makes an early caster do well? What are some like tips, tricks, something that sets people apart from other casters, or just something words of wisdom you want to give to somebody who might be aspiring?
Definitely. I would try to find kind of your favorite casters, ones that you really enjoy listening
good.
to, and you want and not really copy, but you want to kind of form your style around that as well. Because the biggest thing I see for some casters is their tone and their cadence that they have a problem with. There's some early casters that I see. Like whenever we'll play like a random team or something, and they'll post in the chat like, "Oh, we're casting here." I'll actually go check it out later, and a lot of times there's like no energy at all in it. They're just kind of monotone, or they're not taking it professionally. And if you're going to be in that scene, take it professionally.
And have a little fun, I think. Just I dash that
yeah,
in there too.
exactly.
Don't be a robot.
No, you never know who's going to be watching. So you don't know what chance you might be missing out on as well. But as far as for someone that's like starting or wanting to start out, definitely practice. That's the biggest thing. Whether you're streaming or whether your friends are playing like Rocket League, Counter-Strike, or any kind of esports at all, that a game that you want to cast for, start casting over it and then record it and go back and watch it and be like, yeah, that was entertaining. I really like that. I need to work on, this part of my casting as well. I need to work on being a little bit more intelligent of the game. Like me coming into Counter-Strike a couple seasons ago, I wasn't really versed on it too well.
Right.
And then I've grown over the last 2 seasons, really digging my heels into the game, learning the scene, talking to the players, coaches, other casters as well, so that I can be more knowledgeable at what I'm talking about. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, no one's going to really appreciate your casting.
I think that's a big thing as well. Is like some of these lessons. It's not just Counter-Strike's, centric. You can cast any kind of esports as soon as you get in there. I talk to so many people, and they don't just cast CS. Like we're kind of a weird, I guess, in that way of like I don't cast any other game because I don't really have the time. But Valorant players, so many of the early Valorant casters were CS people. I hear a lot of Rocket League casters, Rainbow Six Siege. You have the League of Legends casters. Like there's so much interplay between them, and it's such, I guess, in a weird way, it's a transferable skill, and like knowing how to talk. I guess one of the things you mentioned was, they put in the chat on like an ESEA forum that they're streaming the match and they're going to cast. That's a really good way to get your name out there.
Yep.
Twitter's another huge way. The cash cups. Have you ever done any of the cash cups?
I haven't had a chance yet. I really am wanting to get into one of the women's cash cups, just because I really want to support that scene as well. And the great things that those ladies are doing over there. I just have my schedule hasn't lined up because I've been moving and everything like that. But here shortly, like in the next month or two, I should be able to get to a point where I can do more of those.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's gonna be a lot of fun because now there's more than just like a win or loss at stake. Now there's money at stake. There's so much more, and there's that added tension. So the crowd really gets into it, and it makes the game so much better.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. With Benny and I have been doing the cash cups recently. It's been a lot of fun with even just like either one of them. Like I used to do the old cash cups before the women's cash cups came through. I used to do the old ones, and like it was 7 hours and on like day one, and by the end of it, like you'd have a group of people kind of packing through just trying to find their matches that they wanted to find because there's so many of them. So
Yep.
definitely rated that as a really good way to get into casting in CS. Tony, you got anything else for me? For us?
No,
Sorry?
I mean, you guys kind of hit the nail on the head with all that. I feel like just casting in general, something I've recently tried doing just for fun, like shits and giggles, and then just like also trying to help out in my own casting is sometimes I'll go into like the higher tier games, like and just mute the stream and then just cast over it, like whatever I see happening, like as if it were live. And I think that that's good practice, not only in the sense of like you're getting your casting practice in, But I think from that point, watching those level of games, you'll take a lot more away from it, having digested it and broken it down, viewing it and saying it out loud. Because not only are you going to get much more than you would in a main or advanced match, but on top of that, you're going to have more things to say. You're going to be more well equipped to any scenario that comes in your way at a lower level because you just have more of a knowledge of the game, like you were saying before. So I think that's actually a really big part of casting that not a lot of casters really get into at the lower level first. And I think that that's integrating into the game before you start to really, try and act like you know what you're saying. Like you said before, like you said, it was kind of hard at the beginning maybe to figure it out. But
Yeah.
Could you
yeah, it's
imagine?
really only got.
Could you imagine somebody like there's a huge 4K that happens and like the casters in the match are losing their minds, and at the same time because you're practicing, you're also like losing your mind, and
Yep.
like the reactions are the same. That would blow my mind. You just like you're both like you're getting into it so much. Like some of the casters, like Sato used to get into. You ever think of the Big Apple and Snacks is hungry? Like, could
Yeah.
you imagine somebody else saying that at the same time like Sato said that, but they were
Yes,
practicing?
me.
Like that's yeah.
I said it. It was me the whole time. I love Sadakist. He was one of my biggest influences. It's kind of easy to see, but
Yeah.
he was always one of my biggest influences. But I also, it was weird. I was watching a lot of him, but at the same time, I watched a lot of Henry G. So they kind of like both of their, I don't know how you would say it. Their
You're their
verbose,
passing
just
baby.
everything about them, just kind of like went into me with both ears. It was really cool because I think Henry G is really good at what he does, like analytically, and just I think he's really good at balancing what Sadakist brings to the table. Because I don't think that you could put any caster with Sadakist other than him or Moses and probably get that same result. Because pairings is another thing. It's another
Yeah,
thing you got to
100%.
think about as a caster.
Speaking of pairings here, we're gonna keep going
Pairings,
here.
yeah. Let's
Yeah,
talk about the
pairings.
dynamic duo of Canadians.
Saying that is so nobody will understand that until we say what we're talking about here. Twistzz and JKS, they are the North Americans that won IM Katowice. They won it with FaZe. Not really your conventional NA team, of course. Twistzz is the NA part of that. And JKS, the super stand-in as it is this time around. I was just before we got on here, I saw there was like a little clip from HLTV Confirmed. They were talking about how Twistzz had to convince Kerrigan that JKS was the right stand-in for them. And
Wow, really?
yeah, what
didn't hear
a
that.
stand-in. Yeah, he had to. I think he said something like he had to convince Finn and Robin. So I think Robin is Rops. So
Yes. Yeah.
or maybe their coach, one of the two.
You know
Yeah,
how much I love talking Pro CS, so get everything you can out quick. God, I've got
Yeah.
I watched this entire event from bottom to top.
Well, you have 2 minutes. Go.
Oh, I can go rip it 2 minutes?
Go,
All right, so
go,
basically,
rip it.
FaZe is the team that I thought was going to be like the best coming out of the shuffle right off rip because all their roles line up on paper. Literally, the only thing that you're changing out is a more aggressive player for a less aggressive player in a role that a less aggressive player should be playing. Phenomenal work. JKS coming in had me a little bit worried off rip only because it was for Rain the second time around, but for Rops, I wasn't too scared because they kind of match a little bit better. But all the way through, it looked like everybody was just firing off on all cylinders. Brokey on the ops really come into his own on this team, especially in the last year or so. He's found an identity of himself, and he's insane with rifles and pistols. The guy is honestly just diamond in the rough for FaZe right now. And I think the fact that not only he was showing up on all form, but Rops was playing his best Counter-Strike, Rain inside of his quarantine playing good Counter-Strike, I feel like you can't lose at this event. And then all the way through, you just see them batter all these teams that you'd expect FaZe on a normal day, regardless of what you think about them moving forwards, to just get smashed. But no, 2-0 Gambit, 2-0 FaZe, or 2-0 Heroic, excuse me. They lost 2-1 to Na'Vi, but I thought that was a little bit closer of a game that it actually ended up being with all the overtimes that were being played out, and then they win it out 3-0 in the end. So moving forwards, I guess just wrap it all up, TLDR, FaZe, I expect to be the best team in the world for a significant amount of time this year.
Yeah, and somebody better sign JKS.
And somebody better sign JKS, yeah.
Because that man has worked so hard there. Not just there, but like he's been doing it all his life. Yeah, in life, he's been doing it his whole time, like being on Renegades and being from home for years or away from home for most of.
He's 26 years old now.
He's 26. Yeah, he's been doing this for over a decade. Like that, oh my god, I have a crush on JKS. I think at this point, this man has done so much for the Oceania scene, and he's the first. I think they said he was the first Australian to win truly a tier 1 event because
an S tier event,
is boom, mind blown, and like he deserved it. He wasn't roster riding or anything on that. He came in to stand in and he played his heart out, and
he drove them to the win.
Yeah, He did
JKS
amazing.
was playing like entry roles in some cases and doing well.
Yeah.
Like that's something that you'll never see. Like in complexity, yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Other
phenomenal work from them.
other tournaments coming in. Fragadelphia is actually happening as we do this.
As we
The
speech.
recording, yeah, as we speech. So the recording, this will come after the recording will be after Fragadelphia is finished because it is Sunday. But it's looking pretty good. An EU team came over across the pond to play a Norwegian stack. That was pretty cool. I would love to see more of that. It's a rare thing at Fragadelphia. I think they were the first, if I'm not wrong. I know when Fragadelphia did Battalion in 1944, there was a few EU teams that came over because I actually knew somebody who played with them. It was really cool. But it's been really interesting to say the least. Like Carpe Diems took a map off them. ATK is looking really good. Team 1 is just gunning for the entire event.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of coverage.
Personally, I'm a big fan of the fact that 6 of the 20 players in the top 4 are not American. Are the Americans. The 6 out of the 20. That's crazy. But where these Apex Rebels guys came from, I know that Mither was their coach, and I heard that a while back. But in terms of just actually like knowing any of these players, I think I've heard of maybe 2. But good for them if they pop over to NA and start fragging out and then bomb on back to EU and play well.
Hey man,
I don't know.
If ATK can grab 2 Nordic players and suddenly become an amazing team, like just think what other teams that are in this area can be like, yeah, you know what? Let's just import a player from Norway who's tier 3 and maybe not earning a lot of money there. Let's just import him.
Let's just send all of our academy teams to NA, says Europe.
Yeah.
Then all of the North American tournaments are dominated by academy teams.
Hooray! Yeah, but then we get the status of saying we grew your team.
Yep, that's true too.
Then we end up with MIBR and advanced again.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what we end up with, yeah.
And then they don't play any challenger matches.
Right?
Team 1 in Strife is live as we speak, and then Apex Rebels versus ATK. I'm gonna take Team 1 and ATK.
Awesome. Either way, hopefully MOTM wins it for us. I think that's where I'm coming from.
God, MOTM, bring home the trophy.
God, MOTM. He is going to truly be the man of the match for us. But yeah, that's going on right now. Upcoming qualifiers coming through. We talked a little bit about the female Cash Cup scene a bit. ESL Impact qualifiers are actually coming up this week. The first one is on March 8th, and the second one is on March 10th. Those are best of ones until the decider. I believe 3 teams make it through the qualifier. Are both qualifiers, and then there's 2 invited teams, so it's a total of 8 teams going through, I believe. That's as far as when I read everything, that's as far as what I got. So great to see that. I think that pretty much covers most of the standard NA female teams that go through the Cash Cups, because those are usually about 8 to 10 teams. So it's looking really good to have a really good season for those girls.
Yeah. And then obviously not too far out now, we have the NA RMR. It's not too far away from us now. It's Europe now just concluding just about the 4th qualifier today, I think. It'll be over with. And now we have the rest also taking place with obviously the Asian teams. But with North America coming around the corner, we have a little bit of question marks looming above our heads on to what the rosters are going to be. Because we don't actually know whether or not one of these teams might try and spring for JKS, possibly. Doubtful,
I think the roster lock. I think the roster lock already happened.
Oh, it's already done.
The roster lock already happened. Yeah.
Oh, well then, unfortunate. Well, I guess then we're just gonna have to wait and find out who takes that one home.
Yeah. And the first one is March 10th to 11th. The second one is March 12th to 13th. Then the final bit of news, we actually did talk about it in a little bit of passing on things. I think last time around, Ryan and his crew at RushB Media had closed down RushB Media, as it were. And we didn't really know what the future was for them. And it got released probably a few days after we did the episode. They have all gone to Dust 2. So Ryan is the editor-in-chief there. He's joined by a lot of his cohort that he's taking with him. Like M&M's is going to be still there. But like Jacob Halfman, Lucas at Dust 2 now. He's the other editor-in-chief. He's one of the head editors at Dust 2 now. It was big. I actually did a bit of casting with him. He's a really cool guy. So yeah, big ups to them. And Dust 2 has been huge during the qualifier. They've been absolutely lighting it up in terms of coverage. And there's even been a few interviews coming out from Ryan. They're actually pretty good. I enjoy them. And I think they did a stream this morning with M&M's, the man himself, Jeff, as it were. Him and Ryan did a little bit of talking. And I think they had some interesting points. I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw the Twitter clips, and some of them were pretty interesting.
Pretty interesting. And you have to do your
Pretty
shout out.
interesting.
Do your shout out.
Yeah, I did shout out Lucas.
I thought you were gonna do like a special like shout
No,
out by the way,
no.
like a, you know,
I know
finger
him.
up to the sky kind of thing.
Lucas, I love you. Like
That's it. Okay, there you go.
That's it,
Pull up
that's
my
it.
star. I love you.
What was that?
You're right.
So we're gonna have like a sponsored segment, this episode.
Yeah. Shout out to Lucas.
Lucas.
Brought to you by Dust2.us. They don't own us, but we love them anyways.
Not actually
Dust2
sponsored
US.
either. It's just
not actually sponsored.
how it
Please
is right
sponsor
now.
us. Somebody.
Yeah.
I want money.
I also want money. But
Yeah.
moving forwards, we get to talk about somebody who's been making the rounds in advance for none other than TPG, and it's Flixie. Noah Flixie French. This is going to be our player profile of the episode. And I'm excited to get this one through because Flixie is a player who I personally am very fond of, and TPG is a team that I'm also personally very fond of. So we've got him in this season with the team who are 8-1 right now, as we saw earlier on in the standings, and he's been a massive driving force as to why that is the case. As you can see throughout the season on your screen now, he's had 87 ADR with 0.4. I guess you can do what you want with that. I don't really talk about the decimals too much unless it's rounding up. 12.18 in RWS and 0.76 frags per round. I might have messed it up on the graphic, actually. It might say 0.4. But either way, you get the gist. Highlight match of the season, playing against UGK Esports, a 16-10 victory against a team I would say is pretty formidable overall, at least in the grand scheme of advanced. And 104 ADR with a 16.48 RWS rating is absolutely phenomenal. The guy has been playing with TPG for about 2 or 3 seasons now, including this one. And moving forwards, I really don't see a reason why this team shouldn't be making playoffs and shouldn't be making a deep run in them with a player like this firing off on all cylinders, really.
Yeah, that's always been one of the struggle points with Touchpoint, and before when they were EYU. These guys frag, like they do really well, and it just so far it really has never translated into playoff. Like they've gone 0-2. The best advanced playoff season they've had is when they've gone 2-2. So that's not even enough to get into the relegation tournament. Definitely this is a different kind of team coming through now, though, being 8-1. Like they are ahead of the pack. They are destroying. UGK, by the way, they're currently sitting 13th in the season. They're 6-2. So they're like you said, they're nothing to shake a stick at in terms of a team that you win 16-10 against. That's really good. And Flixie's a big part of that. And it's great to see that he is putting so much into this season. And hopefully, they do make that deep run and they make Premier and they get more exposure. And who knows, maybe it continues on going forward.
Yeah, I mean, so far, like you were saying, they've made so many different playoff seasons in advance. I think they've been there since season 34 as a team, at least the ESEA roster, and now we find them not making playoffs in season 38. Season 39 rolls around and they make playoffs and go out 1-2. 2-2 was their best, and that was quite a ways away. So I feel like if you're TPG and you've got an 8-1 start to your regular season and you go into playoffs and don't find yourselves at least 2-2, that's going to be a little bit of a dangerous spot for them, having been stagnated in advance for so long, in my opinion. But I hope that isn't going to be the case, because I really do like this team as a 5. I think that it's very well put together. I think that maybe one player being changed wouldn't be the end of the world. But other than that, I see no reason to blow this team up. I really don't, even with all the stagnation that's come since then.
And just to kind of touch, they had a phenomenal frag. They actually made it to finals day. And I can't remember who it was that they went up against. That they eventually.
Is this Chicago?
It was Apex.
Where was this?
Apex. It was Apex Rebels. They actually played them. Yeah.
Oh, was
in
it?
the quarterfinals.
This weekend. They've had a phenomenal. They made it to final.
Yeah, quarterfinal.
Well, final day is what I should.
Right.
They made it at a group stage. Made it to Sunday play, so championship day. And had a really, really good showing. I from what I understand, they had a little bit of technical issues, but that's nonetheless. But I mean, they're very impressive, and they're going to be a very, very tough team to beat come playoff time.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I hope that's the case. I agree with that, assuming that it's not going to be a rerun of what we've seen. I really do hope. But from then on,
we'll see.
We can do our little shimmy, our little shake, our little slide into my favorite part. My favorite part of the episode.
You gotta explain this,
Yeah, of course. Cringe Control, as per usual, guys. Basically, I'm given a stipulation as to what players I can and cannot use in forming a roster, and then I form a roster with those stipulations, and someone rates them on a scale of 1 to 10 on how good they would be, given the stipulation. So today, having AngelofBattle on the cast,
The cast, yeah. This
on
is
the
a cast.
cast.
This is a
Yeah,
cast.
guys, I see too many
Pack it
familiar
up.
faces. I think too differently. Now that we have him on the podcast, got you there. He will be the one who's rating it this time around, not Parks. So Parks, it's okay, but we'll hang out next time. I promise.
I'm here in spirit.
Good. Okay, good. I'm glad. So, the stipulation for this episode is going to be the same number of letters in an alias. And this one was a little bit more fun. I got to pick this one myself. So, this is a little bit more interesting for me to be able to put together. So, first player up on the board, I believe I have to actually check myself so I don't spoil anything. Or they're all going to be shown at the
They're
same
all
time,
just gonna
aren't
be
they?
shown.
Okay, great.
Just
Yeah.
go.
So for our first player, we have Flom. Not Flom, different
Flom?
team.
Not Flom.
Cyrix, he's our opper in this team. Cyrix is going to be the opper for the squadron. He was the first player that I actually picked, although he's not the first in the order. And he's currently the opper for Unjustified Gaming. He's a player who made himself a name in Premier for a little while there before dropping right back down to Advanced towards the top level. And UG have been looking phenomenal throughout the season, at least as far as I've seen. And I'm very excited to see what they do. So he was a no-brainer pick for me on this one. As my primary opper, and then I have Mills as the opping in-game leader, who would be taking a back seat on the T side on the right op. Excuse me. So he's on Limitless right now, alongside Sluggy, who is in our second slot right there, as you can see. He's a rifler for that same team. Both players doing a phenomenal job in the season so far. Sluggy above and beyond individually. I feel like he's going to have a breakout sooner rather than later, back to the top level of Premier, or at least the mid-level of Premier. I'm hoping to see him back at. And Castro's a name that I actually kind of threw in last second because I couldn't find somebody who really fit what I wanted from a team. But I know that Castro is probably one of the more veteran players in Advanced right now, and he fits the description that I needed. So Philadelphia Liberty Rifler Castro, he's on the team. Number 5 is a little bit of a fan service to our good friend Big and Tall Matt, because it's one of the players that he can't shut up about. James Gonzo Madden, rifler for New Threat, and he's supposedly a really talented player individually as well. And I'm excited to see what he has to bring moving forwards with the stats that he's shown. And this team right here, we need a rating 1 out of 10. What do we got?
I like it. I like it a lot. You got some good names on there. I think if I had to give it a rating, I think it's a 7 out of 10. Honestly, I really I like Cyrix a lot. I believe I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out there. Cyrix Slam. I believe UG actually just put out some merch for him. So there's a free promo for UG. I like the Mills. I like the Mills as well. I like all these, dude. I think you've got a really good roster here.
I like this one a lot too. Actually, I had fun with it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just, and at the end of the day, it's just chemistry. I mean, you get some big name players like that playing together. If they can play well together, then yeah, they're going to frag out. But if you have egos that come into it, and I've not met these guys in person, I think, from what I've seen from them, they seem like great players. But at the end of the day, it's all comes down to chemistry. But I think that would be a good one, man. I think you got a good list there.
Thanks. All right, cool. We can close out on this week's episode of Cringe Control with a thumbs up. We got 7 out of 10 from our friend AOB, and that leaves us with our final segment of the night, and that's Parks Bread and Butter.
Hold on, before we get out of here, just to say, send in your requirements and we'll use them, because I can't let him have too much fun with these anymore.
Yeah, guys, come on, start commenting, start sending DMs. What's going on? Get on it. Where are we at right now? Wake up.
He texted me last night and he's like, "What do I do for Cringe Control?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "How about this? Yeah, let me just do something I know I can make a funny roster for." Yeah, you're gonna make it harder on him. You have to make him research a little bit, which hopefully he'll be able to do more of in the near future here.
Yeah,
right?
hopefully.
All right, we are gonna get into the end of this though. It is my favorite segment. It's my time to talk. Things I think. The thing I think today is having low tier EU teams getting experience in NA lands is a win-win, and this has been kind of showing up a little bit, just especially with Frag right now.
Good take.
Apex Rebels, they're doing really well at this land. They're showing up. They're showing what they can do. They're getting matches on HLTV. But it's also giving experience to the NA teams that might not usually have the time or the opportunity to go abroad, go to those small lands, go to land centers in EU and play those teams. Like you talk about teams boot camping, like Party Astronauts, where they were going to boot camp in Germany. How many teams were they going to be able to play that were in top 30 going to Pro League that they were going to be competing against?
Right.
Now you're having these teams, these lower tier teams, I would call them tier 3 in EU. I'd call them tier 3. They coming over and
maybe
they're
even
playing
lower,
Frag.
honestly, truthfully, not
maybe even lower.
Like,
yeah, Mither is their coach. He's a reputable coach. Like there's a good spot there, and So them coming over, you get to see a bit of a blend in terms of those NA teams getting to experience what it's like to play against these really good EU teams or comparable level EU teams. And the EU teams get to come over and they get some LAN experience. They get some experience abroad as well, because a lot of the tournaments are in EU, but a lot of the big ones, like you think of IEM New York, that'll be in NA.
Where will that be?
In NA, I don't know. In New York, England, like
In York.
No, I think it's really good. And sure, they might steal a little bit of the prize money, but it's really on NA at that point to actually beat them and show
Yeah.
that
At the
they
end of the
deserve
day.
the prize money.
True, yeah.
Like, I don't
true.
know, don't complain about an EUT coming over and taking your paycheck. Win the
They're still
paycheck.
people. They're still people.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
are you going to
people.
complain that these people who are from a different place of the world are better at the video game than you? No, go back and play better next time. Like, what do you
Ask
like?
them how much their flight was, and then get
Yeah.
back to them. Like, come
Yeah.
on. Anyways, it's a win-win, and I am so happy to see it happening. I think it was a bit of an experiment for Apex Rebels, and a lot of that came down to, I want to say, the relationship between Mither and Koi, just from their time on Mouse Sports together. Koi was the assistant coach, and he said that he found a lot of really good relationships in EU, and he had a really good time. He's come back. He's coaching rather Davenport University, and so a lot of that's coming down to, now that they're here, they're just gonna frag out. They're gonna play. It's a lot, in a weird way. It's a lot like Brazilian teams coming up here. The difference is, like, the Brazilian teams stay because we're more competitive than their scene is in terms of where the good teams are. And
Maybe at one point in time. Now I'm feeling a little bit. Now I'm feeling a little bit shaken. Now that all these VR teams are making changes and NA is getting shocks. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Anyways, it's one of those things that just, like, yeah, it's good to have teams from
love
different
shocks.
regions come. Yeah, we love shocks in this house. Replace him with JKS though. I've lost my train of
What are
thought.
you gonna do
Yeah, gotta.
at that point? But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good play. If you're good and ready, I feel like that
I
was a
think
pretty
we're
good.
good.
Yeah, I feel like that was a pretty good stop to wrap it up on. We got AOB here today. I want to thank you again for coming on and give you the chance to say a couple of last words, maybe a shout out or two, whatever you got.
Shout out everything you're doing in the next 5 weeks.
In the next 5 seconds, go.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing some voice acting things on the side that I can't talk about too much thanks to an NDA, but look out for that. Once I'm able to announce it, I will. Obviously, I
Bye.
stream.
Your time is up.
as well.
Okay,
yeah,
why
that's
not?
it.
Shut up. Keep going.
I do stream on the side Monday, Wednesday, Friday if I'm not casting, 8 p.m. to midnight at twitch.tv/AngelofBattle7. And then obviously I'm casting games for LCA Broadcasting, Omega, and pretty much anyone that wants to hire me. Wink, wink.
Yeah,
well,
we're all like
wink.
that. Wink, wink. Hire us all, please.
Yeah,
Tony
hire us all.
starves. Tony,
Yeah,
Tony's out of money. He is broke.
I do starve. This is a real thing that happens, guys. This is not a joke. This is a real fun that we have set up at this point. But yeah, like we were saying, guys, thank you so much for joining us again. Angel,
Yes.
we like to have you on as per usual. Make sure you guys drop a like, comment anything that you want to see in the next episode, any guests you might want to see on, or perhaps a suggestion for Cringe Control. Other than that, this is ynoT, Parks, AngelofBattle, and Jay, and we will be signing off and waiting to see you guys in episode 4.